Imagine a new kind of investing, a potentially life-changing way to invest that honors biblical principles, the kind of principles that you and I grew up with. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has made biblically responsible investing possible, offering mutual funds and ETFs that are filtered for biblical principles. Don't compromise your values. Invest with Timothy Plan. Ask your financial advisor or call Timothy Plan at 1-800-TIM-PLAN. Again, that's 1-800-846-7526 and discover what it means to be a biblically responsible investor. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com. Read carefully before investing. Mutual funds distributed by Timothy Partners Ltd. and ETFs distributed by Foreside Fund Services LLC. As a paid testimonial, there is no guarantee of future performance and each experience will differ. Hey there, welcome to another edition of the MemoPod. Now I gotta let you know this MemoPod is gonna be singular. There's not gonna be a second half of it for our paying subscribers, because the only ones getting this MemoPod are our paying subscribers. That's right, there's no normal MemoPod this week. There's just one segment of it, and it's only going to you, paid subscribers. They're testing the bells here. Sorry. Anyway, I just didn't want you, if you're listening only to this podcast and you heard that sound, that was the room where I'm now recording from, which, by the way, I was in Colorado. This is why this week has been so thrown off, why you're getting everything crammed together at the end of the week, is because until Tuesday night, I was in Colorado. It's supposed to be Tuesday afternoon, but then when I was leaving Colorado, we have the snowstorm that comes in, and so we kind of get stuck there in Denver before we can get out. So then we got in late, and it's just been a process. So that's why I had to cram all of this week's stuff into the last 3 days of the week. But anyway, all right, sorry. I was going to say something about that, about when I was in Colorado. I don't know. It's gone. It was about a conversation I had out there. But how did that tie into... I don't know. Oh, no, now I know. Because of the bell thing that I was just talking about. I'm recording this in the school building. Obviously not during hours of the school building when I should be teaching. There's not students out there that that I'm telling to be quiet while I'm recording this. That's not how this works after hours. But anyway, I want to do this from the revamped Heck Corner. It's not the Heck Hole anymore. It's the Heck Corner. And I'm still working on that. I just haven't had time to complete it. But it is going to be a project. There is going to be another location that I'll be doing this from, hopefully regularly, as soon as, I don't know, time frees up in my schedule. Anyway, so that's why I'm in here, and that's why the sound and all of that. So because the week has been crammed for me, I didn't have time to record two different segments. So I do want to make you aware of our friends at Creative Financial Design. I want you to get over there and talk to them. You just go to the web link that's there in the email that I sent this to you. You can easily... just click on it and it'll take you there. You can fill out a form. They'll do a needs analysis for you if you want, or they'll just be in touch with you and let you know what they can do. And what I mean by that is clear conscience before God. With the money that you're investing for your retirement, is it in companies? Are you making money off of pro-abortion companies or pro-LGBTQIAA2+, whatever it is right now? Are you making money off of social movements that you are in fact opposed to? That is, to me, it's a matter of conscience, and so if you can avoid it and it doesn't harm you to do that, and there's no value in not doing that, it's a great thing to take advantage of. So do that. Check them out at CFD, and if nothing else, just thank them for supporting what we do here and making it all possible, as with all of the advertisers that we, of course, mention on the podcast. Okay, so I want to say this. This is what I want this MemoPod to be about. The over-politicization of our culture, and yes, that is a word, the over-politicizing of our culture, it has ruined so much. And I think at the forefront of what it has ruined, besides personal relationships, it has to be our language. The words that we use. I look at the 24-hour news culture that we're in, our obsession over ideological purity. Everybody has to be ideologically pure or we can't have anything to do with them. They must agree with me on all points. I must be 100% in agreement with them on all of these things, because if they don't see it exactly as I do, then I can have no fellowship with them whatsoever. That kind of stuff. Political scandal. We're obsessed with political scandal. That stuff is what I mean by the over-politicization of America, and it's ruined our language because words don't mean what they used to mean anymore. The word bigot no longer means what bigot actually means, the textbook definition. It's just a name that you call somebody that you disagree with politically. They're just a bigot. I saw a shirt one time. In fact, I may have even had the shirt that said bigot and then had the little pronunciation key. And the definition of it was a conservative winning an argument with a liberal. And sometimes it's not just left calling right that. Sometimes it's the other way around, though typically with the word bigot, it's assigned to conservatives or more specifically Christians. Racism, there's another one. Things that are not racist at all are deemed to be the product of racism because it's easier to shame somebody than logically engage them and defeat their logical arguments. It's easier to just label something, therefore you can dismiss it and move on. That's the way it is with xenophobia. That's the way that it is with misogyny or fascism. I mean, all of that stuff. And the term of the moment right now that I think, honestly, if I hear it again, I'm just going to, I'm going to hear it again. But I'm just going to throw myself through a window. Because so many people are using this term, and the term actually has meaning, but they don't know the meaning, and they're just using it as a pejorative. They're using it as a term to disgrace or attack somebody else because they cannot engage their ideas or they're too lazy to engage their ideas. Christian nationalism. Everything that progressives, that the left disagrees with now is Christian nationalism. People that support Donald Trump, well, they're Christian nationalists. You ever seen Handmaid's Tale? Okay, what it depicts, that's Christian nationalism. So-called Pastor Greg Locke. See the clips of him rolling around the internet where he calls Democrats demons? That's Christian nationalism. Vice President Pence, former Vice President Pence, when he talked about how he applied the Billy Graham rule, where he doesn't meet privately with another woman that isn't his wife unless she's there, that's Christian nationalism. David Barton and his work on the faith of our founding fathers, that's Christian nationalism. You watch the footage of people there on January 6th protesting what they believed was a stolen election, that's Christian nationalism. The dude with the elk horns, Christian nationalist. John MacArthur out in California, when he didn't close down Grace Church for COVID, when California told him that he had to, that's Christian nationalism. Churches that send congregations, buses of their congregants to Washington, D.C. for the March for Life, or that go down and have a life chain around the courthouse of their local county, Christian nationalism. It just never stops. Anything the left disagrees with, Christian nationalism. You wear a red hat in public, Christian nationalist. Politico just ran a piece warning Americans how, quote, Trump allies prepare to infuse Christian nationalism into his second administration. Here's the exact quote from the article. Christian nationalists in America believe that the country was founded as a Christian nation and that Christian values should be prioritized throughout government and public life. Well, what do you mean by Christian nation? That the predominant majority of Americans at the time were Christians? Because if that's what you mean, then yes, of course it was. Explicitly, legislatively, a theocracy? No, that's not what it was. And that Christian, what did she write there? Christian values should be prioritized in government and public life. Well, what Christian values? Honesty? It's a Christian value. Yeah, that should be prioritized. Integrity, moderation, generosity, frugality. Why would anyone think that those Christian values would be a bad thing to have at the heart of government or public life? That's deserving of this ominous sounding headline and byline, the journalistic finger waving. Now, one of the authors of that article at Politico, Heidi, and I don't know how to say her last name, Zabala, maybe? Pizbala? It's spelled really weird. I don't know how to say it. But she goes on to MSNBC and she humiliated herself. And some of you maybe have seen this clip. But here's what she said.
The one thing that unites all of them, because there's many different groups orbiting Trump, but the thing that unites them as Christian nationalists, not Christians, by the way, because Christian nationalists is very different, is that they believe that our rights as Americans, as all human beings, don't come from any earthly authority. They don't come from Congress. They don't come from the Supreme Court. They come from God.
You heard that line, right? The thing that unites them as Christian nationalists is what? So here is her giving a definition of what she sees as Christian nationalism. And this is why I was saying earlier, people, they don't think anymore. They don't know what terms mean, and they just ruin the language. Christian nationalism, she says, they believe that our rights as Americans, as all human beings, do not come from earthly authority. They don't come from Congress. They don't come from the Supreme Court. They come from God. All right, now look, I don't have to point out the goofiness of that claim because plenty of other people have done it. Progressives have become so consumed in using labels to dismiss their opposition that now they're just incredibly sloppy. By this definition, that a Christian nationalist believes that human rights come from God and not from government, not only is Thomas Jefferson a rabid Christian nationalist, you know who else is? This guy.
I believe all Americans are born with certain inalienable rights. As a child of God, I believe my rights are not derived from the Constitution. My rights are not derived from any government. My rights are not derived from any majority. My rights are because I exist. I have certain rights. That they're given to me and each of my fellow citizens by our Creator, and they represent the essence of human dignity.
Right, Joe Biden, raging Christian nationalist. That's how silly this stuff has become. And that's what I was getting at earlier. It has ruined so much. Over-politicization has ruined so much more than just our language. And here, to me, is the bigger issue. It's ruined our intellects. It may be the nature of these media elites, the elites as they're known, parading themselves around on television, pretending as though they exude a deeper understanding, a firmer grasp, a more thorough command and nuanced approach to the issues that surround us. I get that that's their mode of operation, that they carry themselves that way, but we are desperately in need of better elites, of smarter elites, because these people don't have a clue what they are talking about. The article in Politico, the author having the cluelessness to say it on MSNBC having the impertinence to actually air it. All of it demonstrates a colossal failure of our society's grasp of history, of civics, of ethics, and honestly, most of all, theology. Because like I was getting at, Christian nationalism is actually a thing. It's not a new thing. It's not a new thing at all. It's just that it goes by a new name now, rather than what it has always been called, which is theonomy or theocracy. Theonomists, or if you want to be more specific, Christian theonomists, those are people, which the term that we would now use would be Christian nationalists, but now they've hijacked that term and applied it to pretty much every Christian and non-Christian that believes our rights come from God. They've applied that term to them. But an actual theonomist or Christian theonomist, those are people that believe in order to properly serve Jesus, Christians have to prepare to take over the world's governments and the world's courts. That we're not building a kingdom in heaven, but we're building a literal kingdom on earth in the name of heaven. That's theonomy. That's theocracy. These folks are the ones that believe that we should be doing something far more than just legislating in accordance with God's universal moral law. Remember, in Scripture it says that God's written the moral law upon the heart of the Jew and the Gentile, so men, believer and unbeliever, so that men are without excuse. There are basic moral laws that have been written upon our hearts. That's why every civilization has had the same basic moral code. You can't find a civilization where running away in battle was looked at as honorable, or harming someone was looked at as justifiable ethically. You don't find that, and there's a reason for that. God's moral law written upon the heart of the Jew and the Gentile. But Christian theonomists, or true Christian nationalists, believe we should be doing something far more than that. They believe in doing something far more than promoting Christian principle in public policy, like honesty, frugality, generosity, those things. A theonomist, a true Christian nationalist, would believe in using the power of government to impose specific Christian doctrines on the masses. And you know what that's violative of? You know what that violates? Yeah, it violates American constitutional government, absolutely. But it also violates sound Christian theology. Christianity is not a religion of government or state compulsion. You look at the place where they tried it, was in Rome. Constantine, everybody's going to be a Christian. What was the result of that? Not the explosion and the growth of the church. No, the church grew and rapidly expanded under persecution from the state. So Christian nationalism, Christian theonomy or theocracy is something, and it isn't good. But by labeling everybody you disagree with a Christian nationalist, you actually undermine the ability to highlight and call out real Christian theonomy or theocracy or theocrats, theonomists, whatever term you want to use for them. It's real. It's a violation of American government policy and rules and expectations, but also good Christian theology. But we can't have that conversation because we can't think anymore. We don't have elites who can understand this fairly simple reality and properly explain it to the masses. What we need are journalists who listen to accusations from the left, from people like Joe Biden about the Christian nationalists or the press secretary. Christian nationalist, this Christian. And we need journalists who go on and say, well, wait a minute. Here's what an actual Christian nationalist is. But instead, they don't have the integrity to do that. They don't have the intellect to do it. And so they just seize upon what one party has said, their party of preference, and they just promote it. And we're all dumber as a result of it. We're treated to political stooges on television that just perform, and these are our elites. They name call, they pose, they pander. And I would suggest to you that is a far greater threat to the stability of our republic than this so-called Christian nationalism epidemic that we're supposed to believe is happening. Those are my thoughts. I'm interested in yours. You can send them my way, peter@peterheck.com. That's peter@peterheck.com. Or just comment below in the comments section. And thanks for sticking with us this week, in this crammed week, because I was gone and was busy out in Colorado doing a preaching summit out there. So I appreciate you handling the high intensity of heck that came at you here at the end of the week. I will do better next week, all right? Deal? Good. Have a great one. We'll see you on Monday for another memo. Can't wait.
The Memo with Peter Heck.
Please patronize and thank all the sponsors of the Heck podcast, including McGonigal's Buick GMC, Terrell's Auto Service, Norris Insurance, Stevens Machine, Creative Financial Center, Indiana Right to Life, Tri-Green Tractor, the Indiana Family Institute, Hartman Family Farms, Liberty Financial Group, the Wyman Group, and J. Watson Creations.